Alright, so this video is going over some of the general questions for the FAA written exam for commercial pilots. And the first question we'll go over is this one. You are landing at a Class D airport with the tower not in operation. Which of the following airspace rules apply? The answer is that Class E surface rules apply, or a combination of Class Echo to 700 feet above ground level and Class Golf to the surface rules apply. So to explain this, generally, Class Delta airspace extends upward from the surface to 2,500 feet above the airport elevation in MSL. And Class D surface areas may be designated as full-time or part-time. Where a Class D surface area is part-time, the airspace may revert to either a Class Echo surface area or a Class Golf airspace. When a part-time Class Delta surface area changes to Class Golf, the surface area becomes Class Golf airspace up to but not including the overlying controlled airspace. So let's go to the next one. For VFR operations, the vertical limits of Victor Airways extend from 1,200 feet AGL up to the bottom of the overlying or adjacent controlled airspace. So, once again, for VFR operations, the vertical limits of Victor Airways extend from 1,200 feet AGL up to the bottom of the overlying or adjacent controlled airspace. And to explain this one, 3 fixed route systems are established for air navigation purposes. They are the Federal Airway System, consisting of VOR and LMF routes, the Jet Route System, and the RNAV route system. To the extent possible, these route systems are aligned in an overlying manner to facilitate transitions from each. The VOR and LMF, which is the non-directional radio beacon, airway system consists of airways designated from 1,200 feet above the surface, or in some instances higher, up to but not including 18,000 feet. These airways are depicted on an IFR en route low chart altitude chart. Note, the altitude limits of a Victor airway should not be exceeded except to effect transition within or between route structures. Alright, we go to the next one. A coded transponder equipped with altitude reporting equipment is required for Class Alpha, Bravo, and Class Charlie airspace areas. So altitude reporting transponder, I think is a Mode C transponder, is required for Class Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie airspace areas. In the contiguous U.S., excluding the airspace at and below 2,500 feet above ground level, an operable coded transponder equipped with Mode C capability is required in all airspace above 10,000 feet. So once again, in the contiguous United States, excluding the airspace at and below 2,500 feet AGL, an operable coded transponder equipped with Mode C capability is required in all airspace above 10,000 MSL. What transponder equipment is required for airplane operations within Class Bravo airspace? It's a transponder with 4096 code or Mode S and Mode C capability. So just to explain what those are, let me see if I can find that here. I guess it doesn't matter, we just need to know that. While in flight, a helicopter and an airplane are converging at a 90-degree angle, and the helicopter is located to the right of the airplane. Which of the aircraft has the right of way and why? So whatever aircraft is to the right has the right of way, so that's the helicopter. 2 aircraft of the same category are approaching an airport for the purpose of landing. The right of way belongs to the aircraft at the lower altitude. That makes sense. During night operation, the pilot of aircraft 1 sees the green light of aircraft 2. If the aircraft are converging, which pilot has the right of way? So the pilot of aircraft 1 sees only the green light of aircraft 2. So that means the aircraft 1 is on the right. So the answer is number 1, because aircraft number 1 is to the right of aircraft number 2. If he sees the green light, which is on the right wingtip. A pilot flying single-engine airplane observes a multi-engine airplane approaching from the left. Which pilot should give way? The pilot of the multi-engine airplane should give way. The single-engine airplane is to its right. So yeah, it's whoever's to the right is what matters. An airplane is overtaking a helicopter. Which aircraft has the right of way? The helicopter has the right of way. The pilot should expect to be passed on the right. An airplane is overtaking a helicopter. Which aircraft has the right of way? The helicopter does. And the pilot should expect to be passed on the right. What is the maximum indicated airspeed authorized in the airspace underlying Class Bravo airspace? So within Class Bravo, you can only go 200 knots, maximum. One leg of your trip will be within 4 nautical miles and 2,500 feet AGL of a Class Delta airport. What should your speed be? Maximum is 200 knots. What is the minimum altitude and flight visibility required for acrobatic flight? Minimum AGL is 1,500 feet and 3 miles visibility. 1,500 feet and 3 miles visibility. Which is true regarding flight operations in Class Bravo? The pilot must receive an air traffic control clearance before operating an aircraft in that area. Which is true regarding pilot certification requirements of operations in Class Bravo? The pilot in command must hold at least a private pilot certificate, so you can't have a student. You can't be a student. Which is true regarding flight operations in Class Bravo? The aircraft must be equipped with an air traffic ATC transponder and an altitude recording equipment. So to be in Class Bravo, you have to have a transponder with altitude reporting. The minimum flight visibility for VFR flight increases to 5 statute miles beginning at an altitude of 10,000 feet MSL if above 1,200 feet AGL. The minimum flight visibility for VFR increases to 5 miles beginning at an altitude of 10,000 feet if above 1,200 feet above the ground. So to go over the different airspaces, let's see here. If you're in VFR and you're above 10,000, you're in Class Echo airspace. And if you're below 10,000, it's 3 statute miles visibility, and you have to be 500 feet below the clouds, 1,000 feet above the clouds, and 2,000 feet horizontal from the clouds. If you're above 10,000 feet, you can have 5 miles of visibility. You have to be 1,000 feet below the clouds, 1,000 feet above the clouds, and 1 mile horizontal from the clouds. What is the minimum flight visibility and proximity to cloud requirements for VFR flight at 6,500 feet MSL in Class Charlie, Delta, and Echo airspace? The answer is 3 miles visibility, 1,000 feet above the clouds, and 500 feet below the clouds. Question: what is the minimum flight visibility and proximity to cloud requirements for VFR flight at 6,500 feet MSL in Class Charlie, Delta, and Echo airspace? The answer is 3 miles visibility, 1,000 feet above, and 500 feet below. Charlie, Delta, and Echo. So yeah, these are all the same. So looking at Charlie, Delta, and Echo, for VFR flight, if you're at 6,500 feet, you have to have 3 miles of visibility and be 1,000 feet above the clouds and 500 feet below the clouds. When operating an airplane for the purpose of takeoff or landing within Class Delta airspace under special VFR, what minimum distance from clouds and what visibility are required? You have to remain clear of clouds, and the ground visibility must be at least 1 statute mile. So when you're operating an airplane for the purpose of takeoff or landing within Class Delta airspace under special VFR, you have to remain clear of the clouds, and your ground visibility must be at least 1 mile. Some airports in Class Delta, where the ground visibility is not reported, takeoffs and landings under special VFR are authorized by air traffic control if the visibility is at least 1 statute mile. To operate under special VFR within Class Delta at night, what is required? The pilot must hold instrument rating, and the airplane must be equipped for instrument flight. So if you want to fly special VFR at night within a Class Delta, the pilot must have an instrument rating, and the airplane must be equipped for instrument flying. VFR cruising altitudes are required to be maintained when flying, more than 3,000 feet above ground level based on magnetic course. I didn't know that. So you have to be above, if you're above 3,000 feet above ground level, you have to fly based on magnetic course. Except when necessary for takeoff or landing, or unless otherwise authorized by the administrator, the minimum altitude for IFR flight is 2,000 feet above the highest obstacle over mountainous terrain and 1,000 feet above the highest obstacle over terrain elsewhere. I know that one. What altimeter setting is required when operating an aircraft at 18,000 feet? 29.92. Everyone knows that. When approaching to land at an airport without an operating control tower, in Class Golf airspace, the pilot should make all turns to the left unless otherwise indicated. So if you're landing at an airport, all the turns you make left traffic unless it says so on the chart or in the notes. When operating an aircraft in the vicinity of an airport with an operating control tower, in Class Echo airspace, the pilots must establish communications prior to 4 nautical miles and up to and including 2,500 feet AGL. So if you're within 4 miles from an airport with a control tower and it's a Class Echo airspace, which is not Delta, the pilot must talk to that tower when you're within 4 nautical miles and up to and including 2,500 feet AGL. So if you descend below 2,500 feet, you have to talk to them. When approaching to land at an airport with an air traffic control facility in Class Delta airspace, the pilot must establish communications prior to 4 nautical miles and up to and including 2,500 feet at AGL. So if you're landing in a Class Delta and there's a tower, you have to talk to them when you're within 4 nautical miles or below 2,500 feet. You're operating out of a non-towered satellite airport within Class Charlie airspace. So you're in Class Charlie, and it's not towered, and it's not the main airport. Your aircraft must be equipped with a transponder and altitude reporting equipment. What are the requirements for communication when operating from a non-towered satellite airport within Class Charlie? It just says you need to establish and maintain communication with the tower as soon as practical after takeoff or the appropriate air traffic control facility. What is true regarding flight operations in Class Alpha? You have to be under instrument flight rules.